The Cry in the Market. The sun hung low over the alien city of Vorix. The sky was a strange color, half orange, half green. Markets were full of noise. Voices shouted, metal clanged, and creatures from different worlds walked side by side. A human, man named Ray, walked slowly through the market. He had just finished a long job fixing a transport shuttle. His boots were dirty and his back hurt. All he wanted now was some food. As he passed a stall selling fried bugs, he heard it. A scream. Not just any scream, but a cry full of fear and pain. "Please, somebody help. My mom won't stop shaking." Ray turned fast. The voice had come from a small child, clearly not human. She had smooth, pale skin and big, glowing eyes. Her thin arms wrapped tightly around the body of a woman lying on the ground. "Please," the little girl sobbed. "She's sick. I don't know what to do." People walked by without stopping. A few glanced over and then looked away. Some whispered and moved faster. Ray stepped closer. "What's going on?" he asked. The girl looked up. Tears streaked her small face. She just fell. Her body started shaking and I can't make her stop. Ray knelt beside the woman. Her body trembled like a leaf in strong wind. Her eyes were half open, staring into nothing. He touched her forehead. It was cold. "She's not warm," Ray said, mostly to himself. The girl held her mother tighter. "Is she dying?" Ray didn't answer right away. He checked for a pulse. It was faint, but still there. "She's alive, but something's wrong. We need help." The girl looked around. "I asked the doctor in the blue tent. He said we don't have money, he won't help." Ray clenched his jaw. He had heard that before. In this part of the city, help was for those who could pay. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Laura," she whispered. "Well, Laura," Ray said, lifting the mother in his arms. "Come with me. I know someone who might help." He stood. The mother was light, far too light. As if she hadn't eaten properly in weeks, people stared now. Some looked annoyed. Some even stepped away as Ray passed, as if the shaking woman carried a disease. Laura walked beside him, holding his coat tightly. Ray moved quickly, heading toward an old repair shed at the edge of the market. It wasn't a clinic, but it had tools, warm blankets, and, most importantly, privacy. Inside, he laid the mother down on a bench. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket and gave Laura some water. "Tell me what happened," he said. Laura sat on the floor, knees pulled up to her chest. "We were walking. She got dizzy, then she just fell. She started shaking and wouldn't wake up." Ray frowned. "Has she been sick?" Laura nodded. "Her stomach hurts all the time. She says it's nothing, but she coughs at night and sometimes she bleeds from her nose." Ray's eyes narrowed. That didn't sound like a normal illness. He pulled out a small scanner from his tool bag. It wasn't made for this, but it could still check vitals. The screen blinked red, heartbeat low, blood pressure dropping. "Damn," he muttered. Suddenly, the woman's hand moved, just slightly. "Mom?" Laura rushed forward. The woman's lips trembled. She whispered something Ray couldn't hear. Laura leaned in. She said, "Hide." Ray stood up fast. "Hide? From who?" "I don't know," Laura cried. "She always says that when she's scared, when people in red armor walk by." Ray's heart sank. Red armor. He had seen them. Mercenaries, not law, not doctors, just cruel men who did whatever they were paid to do. Why would they be after this woman? Ray looked at the door. Someone outside was watching. He turned off the light and locked the door. "We need to move," he said in a low voice. "Now." Laura's eyes widened. "Where will we go?" "Somewhere safe." He lifted the mother again. She didn't wake. Her head rested against his shoulder like a broken doll. Laura followed close behind, holding his hand tightly. The market was loud, bright, and full of life just minutes ago. Now, it felt like a trap. Ray didn't know who the woman was. He didn't know why she was being hunted. But he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't leave her. Not now. Not with that child crying. Please. Fix my mom. Ray's boots moved quickly across the cracked streets. He kept his head low and the woman close to his chest. Her skin was icy cold, still shaking, still not waking. Little Laura ran beside him, her small hand gripping his sleeve tightly. The city around them was alive, markets, lights, machines, but none of it mattered now. All that mattered was getting somewhere safe. They reached Ray's small storage unit at the edge of the scrapyard. It wasn't much, just metal walls, a fold-out bed, and old tech parts scattered everywhere. But it had a lock, power, and privacy. Ray closed the door and dropped the steel bar to secure it. He gently laid the alien woman on the bed. Her body jerked again, limbs twitching. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Laura climbed onto the bed and held her mother's hand. Please wake up, Mama. Please. Ray switched on a portable heater. Then he grabbed a med kit from under a crate. He didn't have alien medicine, but he had basic tools. Oxygen mask, thermal gel, hydration injectors. She's burning up inside but freezing on the outside, he muttered. Ray placed the oxygen mask on her face and injected a warming agent into her arm. She flinched but didn't scream. No sign of waking. Laura watched with wide eyes. Will she be okay? Ray didn't answer. He turned to the scanner again. It showed erratic heartbeat patterns and signs of internal struggle. But there was something strange. Her blood. It was fluctuating like it was reacting to something. That's when he noticed her skin. Around her neck, thin black lines pulsed just under the surface, like tiny roots spreading through her body. What is that? Ray whispered. Laura saw it too. They started appearing 2 days ago. At first it was small. She tried to hide. She wore scarves. Ray leaned closer. The lines moved, alive, like they were crawling deeper. He stepped back. This isn't just sickness. The mother suddenly jolted. Her eyes flew open, glowing faint white for a second. Laura screamed. Mama! Ray rushed forward to hold her down. Easy. Don't move. The woman grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Her mouth trembled as she tried to speak. She whispered, They put something in me. Ray leaned in. Who did this? But she collapsed again. Her grip loosened. She went still, except for the quiet shaking. Laura cried and shook her. Mama, stay with me. Don't go. Ray looked down at the woman's face. Then, at the black lines crawling slowly, down her shoulder, whatever was inside her. It was spreading. He took a deep breath. She needs real help. Now. But we have no money, Laura said softly. Ray looked at her. Money isn't the problem. The problem is, they might come looking. Laura blinked. Who? Whoever put that thing in her. Ray stood up. He didn't know if it was a parasite, a tracker, or some kind of poison, but it wasn't natural. And if someone planted it, they might want her dead before it's removed. He picked up a datapad and typed a code. A message went out to an old contact, Dr. Kren, an ex-military medic now hiding from the law. Ray muttered, If anyone can help, it's him. But then something made his blood freeze. A red flash blinked from the scanner by the door. Motion detected, outside. Ray rushed to the screen. A shadow moved past the scrapyard fence, humanoid, tall, wearing armor. Laura, he said quickly. Get under the table. Stay quiet. She obeyed without question. Ray powered down the lights. Then he pulled out a plasma tool, meant for cutting, metal but dangerous enough in a fight. A loud knock echoed through the metal walls. Ray didn't move. Neither did Laura. Another knock. Harder. Then silence. 10 long seconds passed. Finally, the steps faded. The shadow was gone. Ray breathed out slowly. Laura whispered, Was that them? I think so, Ray replied. They're looking for her. We need to move again. But where? To someone who doesn't care about laws. Someone who might save her if we're lucky. He packed a small bag, picked up the woman again, and motioned to Laura. As they stepped out into the night, Ray knew they were racing the clock. Her body was breaking down. Whatever was inside her was winning. And worse, someone out there wanted her to die before the truth came out. But Ray wouldn't let that happen. Not while that little girl still believed in him. The city lights faded behind them as Ray guided Laura through the back alleys. He carried her mother wrapped in a gray thermal blanket. The alien woman was lighter now. Too light. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale, and the black lines under her skin had reached her neck. The wind howled between tall buildings. Laura clung to Ray's coat. "Where are we going?" "To someone who won't ask questions," he replied. "But we have to stay hidden." Every few steps, Ray glanced behind. The streets were quiet, but his gut told him they were not alone. They crossed through a broken gate and entered an old maintenance tunnel. The air was damp and smelled of rust. Pipes hissed above them. The tunnel led toward the lower part of the city, where criminals and outcasts lived. Ray knew a man there, Dr. Kren, once a battlefield surgeon, now a ghost in the underground. Suddenly a sound echoed. Footsteps. Ray stopped. Laura froze. The footsteps were heavy, slow, steady. Not civilian steps. Not random. Ray held a finger to his lips. They ducked behind a pile of crates just as a tall figure walked past. The figure wore red armor. Not police. Not soldiers. Mercs. Ray waited until the sound disappeared. "Come on," he whispered. "Faster now." They moved through side tunnels until they reached a rusty elevator shaft. Ray pried open the gate and looked down. "It's 5 levels below. We climb." Laura's eyes widened. "Climb? You can do it. I'll go first with your mom. You follow." It was hard. Ray held the alien woman in one arm, climbed with the other, using old cables and bolts. Laura followed behind, shaking but focused. By the time they reached the bottom, Ray's hands bled. Laura was out of breath. But they were close now. They came to a sealed door. Ray tapped a code into the panel. It buzzed once. The door opened. Inside, soft green lights glowed. Machines hummed. And in the corner, a tall alien man in a dark coat turned around. Dr. Kren. He had 4 arms and eyes like a hawk. "Ray," he said, surprised. "What?" "No time," Ray cut in. "She's dying." Kren stepped forward and looked at the woman. His expression darkened. "Bring her in." Ray placed her on the table. Kren began scanning. His fingers moved fast, his eyes narrowing. This is worse than I thought." "What is it?" Ray asked. Kren didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled a holographic screen over the woman's chest. The black lines pulsed. "This isn't a sickness," Kren said finally. "It's a biological tracker. A living parasite fused with nanotech." Ray's face went pale. "A tracker?" "It's feeding off her nerves, mapping her organs, sending signals. Someone knows where she is," Laura gasped. "They'll find us again." Kren nodded. "Yes, and soon." He picked up a tool and started working. "If I can remove it, she might live. But if I fail, it will kill her instantly." Ray looked at the little girl. She was crying silently, her fists clenched. "Do it," Ray said. Kren didn't waste time. He injected the woman with a green fluid. Sedative. Might stop the shaking. Then he made a small cut near her neck and inserted a silver tool. The machine beeped. Her body jerked. "Hold her down," Kren ordered. Ray and Laura held her still, as Kren worked. The tool made soft clicking noises. Her skin twitched. Black liquid oozed from the cut. "It's moving deeper," Kren muttered. "It doesn't want to come out." Suddenly, the alarm buzzed. Ray looked at the screen. Motion detected, 2 life signs. Outside. Kren's eyes narrowed. They're here. Ray stood. Keep working. I'll stop them. He grabbed a shock baton from the wall and headed to the door. Outside, the hallway was dim. 2 armored figures were walking slowly, scanning every door. Ray waited. As one came close, he jumped out, hitting the merc in the neck. The armor sparked. The merc fell. The second turned, drawing a gun. But Ray knocked it aside. The fight was fast, brutal. Ray took a hit to the ribs but dropped the second merc after smashing his head into the wall. Back inside, Kren yelled, "Got it!" He pulled a black worm-like device from the woman's neck. It wriggled until he crushed it under his boot. Her body went still. The lines faded. She took a deep breath, then slowly. She opened her eyes. Laura ran to her. "Mama!" The woman blinked. Her lips moved. "Laura?" She was weak, but alive. Ray dropped to the floor, exhausted. He looked at Kren. "You saved her." Kren shook his head. "We saved her, but they'll keep coming." Ray nodded. "Then we'll be ready." The woman lay still on the cold table. Her breathing was steady now. The black lines under her skin had faded to faint scars, but her eyes remained half open, confused and distant. Ray sat nearby, holding a cracked ice pack to his bruised ribs. The fight with the armored men had left marks, but it was worth it. Little Laura never left her mother's side. She held her hand tightly, whispering stories, trying to bring her back to full awareness. Dr. Kren stood at the far end of the room, staring into a vial of blood. Ray noticed the silence. "What is it?" Kren didn't look up. "Her blood, it's changing." Ray stood, wincing from pain. "What do you mean, changing?" Kren tapped the vial. The liquid inside shimmered, black at the bottom, glowing blue at the top. "It's not just infection or parasite residue, it's synthetic, altered." Laura looked confused. "Is that bad?" Kren turned, serious. "Very. Someone modified her blood, maybe for control, maybe for something else. It's no longer purely hers." Ray stepped closer. "Could it be military?" Kren nodded. "Possibly. Or worse. Experimentation." Ray looked at the sleeping woman. "She's someone important, isn't she?" "She was," Kren said. "Or she knew something. That kind of modification isn't cheap. It's for weapons. Or research subjects." Laura's eyes filled with fear. "They hurt her. I remember. They made her drink something. It burned her throat." Ray clenched his fists. "That wasn't a mistake. It was planned." Kren sighed. "We need to find out who did this, and why." Ray turned to Laura. "Do you know your mother's name?" She nodded. "Seren?" Kren's eyes widened. "Seren?" Ray raised an eyebrow. "You know her?" Kren looked serious now. "There was a woman named Seren once. She worked for a biotech group, the ones who were shut down by the Galactic Union for illegal gene splicing. She vanished 3 years ago after speaking out." Ray blinked. "You think this is her?" "It matches. If it is, she was a whistleblower. She ran with evidence. Evidence that could destroy the people funding those experiments." Ray stared at Seren, shocked. "So they found her. Silenced. Her with that parasite. And now they're still hunting her." Kren nodded. "If she remembers, she's dangerous. If they get her again, she'll vanish forever." Just then, Seren stirred. Her fingers twitched. Laura leaned in. "Mama." Seren's eyes blinked open slowly, like waking from a heavy dream. She looked at her daughter first, then at Ray. "You," she whispered. "The human." Ray moved closer. "You're safe now." She tried to sit up, but Kren gently pushed her back. "Easy. You've been through a lot." Serene's voice was hoarse. "I remember the lab, the injection." Her body shook again. Slightly this time. "They wanted me quiet. I saw what they did to the children, the tests. Her voice cracked. I tried to stop them. Ray's heart sank. You were a scientist? Seren nodded weakly. But not like them. They were building weapons. Inside people. Trying to make soldiers who obey with just a signal. Kren added quietly. And you stole the data? Seren didn't speak, but her eyes said yes. Ray asked, Where is it? Seren looked at Lura. She is the key. Ray blinked. What? Kren frowned. You put it in her? Serene's voice shook. Not inside her body, but in her genetics. I encoded it in her blood. Only her DNA can unlock it. Lura looked scared now. What does that mean? Ray knelt down beside her. It means you're special, Lura. Very special. Serene continued. They won't stop until they get her, until they extract the code. Kren stepped back, shocked. They'll tear her apart to get it. Ray stood up slowly, his eyes dark. Not on my watch. Seren tried to rise again. You have to protect her, even if I don't make it. Ray gently held her shoulder. You're not dying. Not today. But deep down, he knew the truth. Seren was weak. The damage had been done. Her life was now a countdown. Kren looked at the computer. If I can extract the data from Lura's blood safely, we can expose them. But it'll take time. Ray nodded. Then we buy you time. Seren reached out and grabbed Ray's wrist. Her hand was trembling. Thank you for not leaving us. Ray looked into her eyes. You weren't just anyone in need. You were a mother. That's enough. Kren began preparing the machine for the data extraction. Ray looked at Lura. Stick close to your mom. No matter what happens, I've got your back. Lura nodded bravely. Outside, thunder rolled across the metal rooftops. They didn't know it yet, but eyes were already watching, and enemies were closing in. Ray stood by the door holding the plasma cutter tight in his hands. His eyes scanned the tunnel beyond the lab, alert and ready. The deeper truth had shaken him. Lura's DNA carried stolen data that could bring down powerful people. And her, Mother Seren, was dying. Inside the lab, Dr. Kren worked fast. He connected a fine needle to a scanner and gently slid it into Lura's arm. It won't hurt, he said softly. Just a little pinch. Lura flinched but didn't cry. She looked at her mother, who lay weak and pale on the table. I'm not scared, she whispered. Just fix her, please. Kren gave a small nod. This will help. Trust me. As the machine started to process her blood, strange symbols lit up on the screen. Data strings, security codes, DNA locks. Ray walked. Over. Is it working? Kren looked serious. Yes, slowly, but once it finishes, we'll have the proof. Everything Seren hid. Ray nodded. Good. We'll expose them. But deep down, he knew that just having the data wouldn't be enough. The people hunting them wouldn't let the truth come out easily. Suddenly, the building shook. A deep boom echoed through the walls. Kren looked up. What was that? Ray ran to the door. Another boom, this time louder. Dust rained from the ceiling. They found us, he muttered. Already. Seren opened her eyes weakly. They'll destroy everything. Even Lura. Ray stepped close. Then we'll move you. All of you. Kren looked up from the scanner. The extraction needs 20 more minutes. Ray cursed under his breath. We don't have 20, he thought, fast. Is there a backup? Can you copy the data somewhere portable? Kren nodded. I can transfer it to a memory crystal, but I need high-grade storage. Ray opened his bag, pulled out a blue glowing shard. Will this work? Kren's eyes lit up. Perfect. He slid the shard into a slot. Transferring, now. Meanwhile, Ray began packing quickly. Blankets, water, tools. He looked at Seren. Can she be moved? Kren frowned. It's risky, she's weak. But if we stay, we all die. Another boom. This one sent a crack down the wall. Ray helped Seren up, wrapping her in a thick coat. She groaned, barely able to stand. I've got you, he said gently. Lura grabbed her mom's hand and held it close, Kren pulled out the glowing crystal. It's done, all the data. Everything they were hiding. Ray took it and placed it in a hidden slot on his belt. Then Kren pulled out 2 masks. Put these on. The exit tunnel is full of smoke. Ray nodded and took one for Lura. As they stepped out of the lab, smoke filled the corridor. Lights flickered. Sirens blared. They moved fast, through a tight passageway that led to an old ventilation shaft. Ray punched open the grate. Cold air hit his face. "We climb," he said. "No choice." He climbed first, carrying Seren across his back. Kren followed, holding Lura. They reached the surface, an alley behind a forgotten warehouse, but they weren't alone. 2 figures stood near the exit, armored, armed, faces hidden behind black visors. Ray pushed Lura behind him. "Run when I say." One of the soldiers raised his weapon. "Give us the girl." Ray stepped forward. "You'll have to go through me." They didn't hesitate. One fired. Ray ducked and threw his plasma cutter. It hit the shooter's chest. Sparks flew. The merc dropped. The second charged. Ray met him head-on, tackling him to the ground. They rolled, fists flying, weapons clashing. Ray took a hit to the jaw but kept going. Then, bang, a sharp sound echoed. The second merc froze. Behind him stood Kren holding a stolen blaster. "Told you I was useful." Ray groaned, wiping blood from his mouth. "Remind me to thank you later." They grabbed Seren and Lura and ran toward the shuttle station. Sirens screamed in the distance. At the edge of the landing pad, Ray spotted an old cargo shuttle. No guards, just a sleepy dock worker. Ray threw him a credit chip. "Emergency transport. Don't ask questions." The worker shrugged and stepped aside. They boarded quickly. Ray placed Seren in a seat and wrapped her in another blanket. Lura climbed beside her, eyes wide. "Where are we going?" Ray looked back at the city, smoke rising from the streets. "Somewhere safe," he said. "Somewhere no one can hurt you." Kren slid into the seat across from him. "You just made yourself a target. You realize that, right?" Ray nodded. "I don't care. I'll break every rule if that's what it takes." He looked at Lura, then at Seren. "They're worth it." The shuttle broke through the clouds as the city lights vanished behind them. The sky turned darker, the stars above cold and silent. Ray sat near the window, eyes fixed on the world they had left. He knew there was no turning back now. Beside him, Seren was barely conscious. Her head rested on Lura's lap. The child stroked her hair gently, humming a soft tune. Every now and then, Seren's fingers twitched, and she whispered Lura's name. Dr. Kren worked on a console in the back of the shuttle. He was uploading the stolen data from the memory crystal into a secured satellite signal. "If this works," he said, "the truth goes public. Their crimes, their names, their labs, all of it." Ray turned toward him. "What happens when—" "It does?" Kren didn't look up. "They'll come after us harder." Ray nodded. "Then we better hit them first." The shuttle landed hours later in a hidden base carved inside a dead volcano. The place was cold, old, and full of dust. But it was off-grid. Ray had helped build it during the war. No cameras, no trackers. He carried Seren inside, laying her gently on a bunk. Her skin was still pale, her pulse weak. Lura sat beside her. "She needs real medicine." Ray looked at Kren. "You said she could live if the parasite was removed. Why is she still fading?" Kren sighed. "Because they damaged her from the inside. Her organs were used as test chambers. Her blood fights itself. Her body's breaking down slowly." Ray clenched his fists. "There has to be something." "There is," Kren said after a pause. "But it's illegal and rare." Ray's eyes narrowed. "Tell me." Kren stepped closer. "There's a military-grade nanite injection used only for elite soldiers. It rebuilds tissue from inside. It could repair her, maybe even reverse the damage." Ray didn't hesitate. "Where is it?" Kren frowned. "Locked away in a black site. Only high-clearance agents can get in. Even I was never inside." Ray stood straight. Then I'll break in. Kren looked shocked. You'd be walking into one of the most guarded facilities on the planet. I've done worse, Ray replied coldly. Just tell me where. Kren hesitated, then pulled up a map. Sector 12, Arctic Zone, deep underground. Ray memorized it. Stay here, protect them. If I'm not back in 48 hours, run. Laura stood up. No, you can't leave us. Ray knelt and held her hands. I have to. Your mom needs this. I won't let her die. Tears filled her eyes. Promise me you'll come back. Ray smiled faintly. I promise. Hours later, dressed in stolen security gear, Ray approached the Sector 12 perimeter. Icy winds cut through the air. The base entrance was hidden beneath frozen rock and tall towers. Ray slipped past the outer guards using fake credentials from an old contact. But inside, everything was tight. Cameras, drones, soldiers. He moved like a ghost, silent, careful, watching every step. In the inner chamber, behind biometric locks and steel doors, he found it, a glowing vial, silver blue. Tiny bots swirled inside like stars. Nanite serum, experimental class. He reached for it. Don't move. Ray froze. A soldier stood behind him, gun raised. Turn around, hands up. Ray slowly turned. You don't understand. This isn't theft. It's to save someone. The soldier didn't blink. Everyone says that. Ray took a chance. She's a mother. They tortured her. I'm not leaving without this. The soldier's eyes narrowed. Then, slowly, he lowered the gun. You've got 1 minute. After that, I'll pretend I never saw you. Ray didn't wait. He grabbed the vial and ran. The alarm blared behind him. Sirens screamed. He jumped into a stolen glider and raced across the icy fields, gunfire behind him, engines roaring. His hands bled. His breath fogged. But he didn't stop. Back at the base, Laura sat beside Seren, whispering prayers in her native tongue. Kren watched the sensors, heart sinking with every beep. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Ray stepped in, covered in blood and frost. I got it, he gasped. Kren rushed to him. You're insane. Maybe, Ray said. But I'm not heartless. He handed over the vial. Kren didn't waste time. He injected the serum into Seren's neck. Seconds passed. Her breathing stopped. Laura screamed. Then, her chest moved. Slowly, her eyes opened. Color returned to her skin. She whispered, Ray, and smiled. A soft golden light slipped through the cracks in the base's ceiling. Morning had come, and for the first time in many days, everything was quiet. Serene lay still under a thick blanket, her chest rising and falling gently. Her skin looked healthy again. The black marks were gone. Her hands no longer shook. Ray sat nearby with his eyes half closed, exhaustion pulling at every muscle. His clothes were torn, his face still bruised from the fight at the military base. But he smiled quietly when he looked at her. On the other side of the room, Laura had fallen asleep in Dr. Kren's chair, her little hands wrapped around a stuffed blanket. She had stayed awake all night, refusing to leave her mother's side until her body couldn't fight sleep anymore. The machine beside Seren beeped softly. Kren walked in with a warm cup of broth and handed it to Ray. She's stabilizing, Kren said. The nanites are working. They're rebuilding her body from the inside. Ray nodded slowly. She's stronger than any of us. Kren smiled. And you're crazier than all of us. Just then Seren stirred. Her fingers twitched. Ray stood up, heart pounding. Seren's eyes opened. They weren't full of pain anymore. They were calm, bright, alive. Her gaze moved slowly, first to Ray, then to the sleeping figure of her daughter. A tear slid down her cheek. I survived, she whispered. Ray stepped closer. You did. Seren tried to sit up. Her body was weak, but steady. Laura, she's safe, Ray said gently. She never left you. Seren looked around. Where are we? Far away from danger, Ray said. But not forever. They'll come again. Seren's face hardened. Then we tell the galaxy the truth. Ray reached into his jacket and pulled out the memory crystal. We already did. Kren stepped forward. The data was uploaded hours ago, broadcasted across dozens of systems. They can't cover it now. Seren leaned back, breathing deeply. Then maybe the children I couldn't save didn't die for nothing. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Lura woke up. Mama, she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Seren smiled and held her arms open. Lura rushed across the floor and jumped into the bed, hugging her tightly. Ray turned away, eyes wet. Mama, you're not shaking anymore. I know, little star, Seren whispered. I'm okay now. They held each other like the world didn't exist. For a while, nothing else mattered, but soon the base's alarm chimed softly. Ray looked at the screen. Unidentified ship entering orbit. Kren checked the scanner. It's them. A strike team. 5 minutes. Ray didn't flinch. I'll hold them off. Seren looked up. You can't fight them alone. I won't have to, Kren said. They're not the only ones watching. Ray raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Kren smiled. That data didn't just go public. It woke up people who care. Look. He turned the screen. Dozens of messages flashed across it. Militias, resistance groups, even soldiers who had gone rogue. One simple message blinked. Hold on. We're coming. Outside, the morning light grew stronger. In the distance, ships broke through the clouds, but not just one. Not just enemy ships. Ray's communicator buzzed. A voice came through. This is Commander Valen of the Outer Rim Guardians. Stand down, Mr. Ray. We've got your back. Ray grinned. About time. Moments later, explosions echoed in the sky. Enemy ships were chased off. One crashed into a distant hill, flames lighting up the horizon. The base shook, but no longer from fear. It was victory. Ray turned to Seren. You're safe now. Truly. Seren held Lura close. Because of you. Ray shook his head. Because of us. You were the brave one. You ran from monsters to save her. You suffered, and still fought. Seren reached out and took his hand. Kren looked at them and smiled. So, what now? Ray looked out the door as the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the broken land. I fix my ship, he said, and take them somewhere peaceful. Seren looked at him softly. You don't have to stay with us. Ray looked at Lura, then at her. I know, he said, but I want to. Serene's eyes sparkled. Lura looked up. Does that mean you'll be with us forever? Ray bent down and ruffled her hair. If that's what you want, Lura beamed. I do. The family, broken by pain, stitched together by love, sat in silence, watching the sun rise over a freer world, and somewhere far above, the truth they fought for spread across the stars.